downplays the figure. Healthy minors between 12 to 17 years old can now line up at vaccination sites and roll up their sleeves for their COVID-19 booster shots. And these photographs showing James Reid have fans and netizens asking if the singer-actor has another collaboration in the works. Filipinos tightened their belts as the rise in food prices hit its fastest rate in nearly 4 years. As senior correspondent Lois Calderon reports, a consumer's peso in 2018 is now worth just 87 centavos this year.
Record high oil prices in the global market has been fueling domestic inflation, or the measure of how fast or how slow consumer prices rise. Inflation sizzled to 6.1% in June, within market forecast, yes, but the fastest in almost 4 years. Food is an index heavyweight. Chicken, seafood, and vegetables are now a lot more expensive. Sugar and cooking oil also receive special mention on the Philippine Statistics Authority's list of commodities it's keeping an eye on. That June reading brings the year-to-date average to 4.4%, beyond the central bank's target.
Hyperinflation, wala pa naman tayo doon. Ang sinabi ko lang kanina na na-observe natin, increases sa 9 out of 13 commodity groups. So medyo spread yung pagtaas. At doon naman sa mga regions, 17 regions ay nagka-experience ng pagtaas ng presyo nitong June versus May. So yung mga indication na medyo malawak yung coverage ng pagtaas ng presyo ng bilihin at serbisyo. It's not really, in a way extraordinary, but it gives you an idea that the impact is wide.
Hyperinflation happens when consumer prices get out of control at over 50%. But even at 6.1%, consumers are feeling the pinch.
In-expect natin talaga na bumababa yung ating purchasing power peso. So, tama ka dito sa report natin, 7.87 na lang, means that sa June 2022, yung ating piso ay parang worth na lang 87 centavos.
Kulang talaga, as in. Kaya lang walang magagawa, di ba? Lahat mahal. Pagkain, etong ganito, bigas, ulam, lahat. Gas, lalo-lalo na ang gas.
Prices in the provinces have been moving at a pace faster than in Metro Manila. In Cordillera, where Ifugao farmers complain about rotting carrots and cabbage they are not able to sell even at bargain prices, expensive oil and higher fertilizer costs hurt the highland farmers.
Para sa akin yung presyo dito mahal, pero sa Pangasinan kasi mas mura siya. Mas fresh din.
Central Luzon, the Philippines rice granary, faces rice inflation, while Metro Manila saw a decline in the price of the grain. Statisticians say that's because of the rice variety, with Central Luzon producing regular milled rice. Helped by the rice tariffication law, the city capital enjoys a cheaper variety of the staple grain, special rice, which is imported. Lois Calderon, CNN, Philippines.
A directive from President Bongbong Marcos to agriculture officials: do what you can to soften the impact of the unfolding food crisis. The Marcos administration targets to lower rice prices by increasing production, but experts say for that to happen, the Agriculture Department should begin pouring billions of pesos more in subsidies to boost local farm yields. Melissa Lopez has more.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. stressed the need to keep food prices low and the local supply stable.
We have to think very hard about making sure that people have sufficient food, number one, at the price that they can afford.
The new administration borrowed targets set by former Secretary William Dar and inspired by a program implemented by former President Ferdinand E. Marcos, targeting bountiful harvests of as much as 200 sacks of rice per hectare. Under the Masagana 200 program, farmers planting hybrid rice are expected to yield 10 tons per hectare and make a 70,000 peso profit. Current production is at 4.2 tons per hectare.
Yung sinasabi niyang Masagana 150, ang target ko is 7 tons per hectare. Sa ngayon, imposible siyang mangyari unless maganda yung makukuha mong seeds and then talagang bugbog sa support ang rice farmers. Magsisimula yun pag maganda yung inputs mo. And unfortunately, Sa ngayon, marami talagang laganap yung fake fertilizers.
The Samahang Industriya ng Agrikultura laments the proliferation of fake or substandard fertilizers which do not have the proper level of chemicals needed to enrich rice production. The group says it is preparing complaints before the DA. Food Security Advisor Manny Piñol has another suggestion.
Saan ba yung merong excess production sa rice? Saan ba yung capable producing more chicken? And then we come up with a logistical arrangement or network.
It all boils down to funding.
Taniman ngayon, so kailangan ng farmers murang fertilizer. Sobrang mahal ng fertilizer ngayon. So ang immediate na pwedeng magawa is subsidize o bigyan ng discount ang mga farmers para they can buy more fertilizers.
The DA was allotted 102 billion pesos for 2022, just 2% of the national budget. Sinag says it should be doubled to hit at least 5% of total funding. The president also wants a long-term plan for agriculture development. But how do experts define success?
That's how we measure success. Makababa mo yung cost of production at mapababa yung presyo. Ultimately, mababa ang presyo sa palengke.
Melissa Lopez, CNN Philippines.
While consumers dig deep into their pockets for food, motorists and public utility drivers get little reprieve this week. Oil companies slashed diesel prices by 3 pesos per liter. Kerosene, which many households use, will have an even bigger price cut at 3 pesos and 40 centavos per liter, while gasoline prices are steady. Recent numbers from the Energy Department show fuel prices have risen to up to 99 pesos as of end June. But the rollback doesn't mean drivers no longer need help. Thousands of tricycle drivers have yet to receive the promised fuel subsidy from the past Duterte administration. George Quiles tells us what went wrong.
It's been a long day of work for tricycle driver Manuel Traballo so as to earn and feed his family. With the soaring oil prices, the promised help from the national government should somehow help them get by.
Napakahirap. Hindi ka mukha dati kasi saglit lang namin kinikita 1,500. Ngayon kasi napagkahirap dahil sa pagtaas ng gasolina natin.
But Traballo may have to wait a bit longer as the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board returned the list of beneficiaries to the Interior Department. LTFRB Executive Director Tina Cacion says the names and mobile numbers of some tricycle drivers and operators mismatched. Mobile numbers serve as account numbers for e-wallets like GCash and Maya. This is why the Land Bank of the Philippines did not release the fuel subsidy for tricycle drivers and operators through e-wallets. In Quezon City, they submitted over 42,000 names of drivers and operators. The local government has a hunch on why there's a mismatch with the names and account details of beneficiaries.
Naka-encounter din kami, most especially po yung mga driver po na medyo senior na, wala po talagang mga cellphone. Kailangan po nilang mag-submit talaga eh. So, siguro po ang binigay po nila yung sa anak nila, yung sa kamag-anak po nila, which is so in my opinion po, mag-mismatch talaga.
While it may take a while to correct the problem before beneficiaries actually receive the subsidy from the national government, here comes the local government of Quezon City saying it will start distributing its own fuel subsidy to tricycle drivers and operators.
Through flip cards na po siya, worth 1,000 pesos din, pero nakalagay na po yung plate numbers po ng mga motor. So every time po na may fuel subsidy si city government, doon na po ipapasok.
The distribution of Quezon City fuel subsidy will start on Thursday. George Cahiles, CNN Philippines.
A lawmaker proposes the realignment of funds under the proposed 2023 national budget to provide fuel subsidies for public utility vehicle drivers and agricultural workers. Davao City 3rd District Representative Isidro Ungab is looking to study which projects may be set aside under the National Expenditure Program to be submitted by Malacanang. This as he insists giving cash aid is better than suspending the excise fuel tax.
Suspending the excise tax is like killing the goose that laid the golden eggs. No? Yung ating excise tax are giving very good revenues to the government, about 100 to 200 billion per year. Pag-aralan mo na kasi hindi pa natin nakita yung budget. So, in the past, there were some excess funds. So, yun yung pwede mong tingnan kung may possibility ba na magbawas ka doon. Or postpone some projects.
President Marcos earlier said he would prefer to give aid than suspend excise taxes amid the fuel crisis. President Marcos holds his first cabinet meeting 5 days after taking office. The Marcos portfolio is still incomplete with 6 key positions waiting to be filled. Let's bring Rex Remedio live from Malacanang for the details. Rex, what is the focus of the meeting?
Well, first, economy, second, education, and third, food security. The economic team first presented an outlook of the economy. Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte then gave her ideas on how will be the implementation of the full face-to-face classes will be next semester. President Marcos also gave a background on what will be his general directives to agriculture officials are to ensure food security. The President himself admitted they were not able to cover everything after they met for 4 hours. That's why he and his cabinet are planning to meet twice to thrice a week. In his first press briefing as president, he emphasized the importance of making sure there's enough food supply at affordable prices. He's concerned about rising food prices, saying that many factors are out of their control. Although he says the country has enough food supply. The chief executive says they're still preparing for possible food shortages and higher prices. A journalist also asked President Marcos about the inflation rate of 6.1 last month. The number is higher than the government's target of 2 to 4%. And here is his response.
I think that I will have to disagree with that number. We are not that high. We have crossed our targets were less 4% or less. Unfortunately, it looks like we may cross that threshold. Tatawid tayo sa 4%.
The president, meanwhile, said there's no need to import more rice and corn to stabilize prices locally. He says he wants to boost local production this planting season instead. The chief executive, however, emphasized that there's a need to import more pork and chicken. Pork because the country is short on supply due to the African swine fever. Chicken because he says local supply is not sufficient. Although we have yet to know if these measures are enough and can make it on time to temper rising food prices. Back to you, Pia.
Rex, I understand President planning to start full face-to-face classes by November. Can you tell us more about this?
Well, President Marcos says that Vice President Duterte announced during the cabinet meeting that she seeks to implement the resumption of full face-to-face classes by November. And this will be the first time that full face-to-face classes will be held since the pandemic began in March 2020. And it will start in phases starting September. Pia.
The President, Rex, set to meet with the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. What is the purpose of that meeting?
Well, President Marcos says that the purpose of the meeting is to further strengthen the ties between the Philippines and China, and that they're working to resolve the differences of two countries when it comes to the ongoing territorial disputes in the West Philippine Sea. And that he also wants to have more exchanges with China, such as cultural, educational, and even military. Pia.
Rex Remedio there, giving us the latest from Malacanang. When we come back, booster vaccinations underway for healthy minors in Metro Manila. A look at the situation on the ground with Caroline Bonquin. And are we seeing another collab between Filipino singer James Reid and South Korean artists? Stay tuned to Newsnight here on CNN Philippines.
pandemic, serving others is the best. Sa pagtutulungan, patuloy ang ating laban sa buhay. Kaya dapat always healthy. With proper diet, exercise, and MX3 coffee mix to ignite my day. Hi guys! Lagi akong focused, active, at extraordinary. Because the most important things in life deserve nothing less. MX3 coffee mix, my choice.
Fried chicken? Timplang happy! With easy-to-cook Magnolia Chicken Timplados. Iba't ibang sarap ng chicken, kaya. Anong Magnolia Chicken Timplados mo? Iba't ibang easy chicken sarap. In your life you have a sarap. Sa baling ng barkada, GSM Brew ang kasama. We just GSM Brew. Choose must roll. Dahil ito ang GSM Brew.
Ang isa pang tinutulong po kasi ng mga construction projects, bukod po doon sa mga construction sectors, once natapos na po lahat ng proyekto, it attracts investments, and more investments would mean more employment opportunities for all of us.
It is one of the purposes of San Miguel Infrastructure to provide more jobs to our fellow Filipino workers through these infrastructure projects. Partnering with local contractors means supporting the Philippine workforce as a whole, since these projects, big or small, truly help and provide jobs.
This is Newsnight on CNN Philippines. 12 to 17-year-olds without underlying illnesses may now get their COVID-19 booster shots. The health department says local governments may begin rolling out boosters for the age group as soon as they're ready. Carolyn Bonkin checked the situation at a vaccination site here in Metro Manila.
12-year-old Angela Nilo was accompanied by her mother to Don Alejandro Roses Senior High School in Quezon City on Tuesday to get her COVID-19 booster shot. She completed her first 2 doses in December.
Of course, I don't only think about myself. I think about my parents, you, and the rest of the people in this country that could be put at stake.
Quezon City started giving out boosters to 12 to 17-year-olds on July 1st. Walk-ins are allowed as long as they present birth certificate, parent and vaccinees IDs, and a medical certificate if one has existing illness. They should also be fully vaccinated for a minimum of 5 months. The first week of providing booster shots here is not as busy as when the kids got their first and second doses.
5 months din kasi ma'am ang interval between the primary and the second and the first booster. So it might be a factor po.
Most of the vaccinees in the morning are aged 5 to 11, many of them completing 2 doses. Inoculating this age group has been lagging. Of the 10.9 million target, Health Department's data show 6 million eligible children under 12 are still unvaccinated nationwide. According to some parents whose children have just completed their vaccines, they chose to wait.
May hesitant po ako to do the vaccine, but then just because may nakita naman po ako na close to us, na medyo okay po, parang for ano na rin po na effective naman yung vaccine. So, I decided.
Pag mag-face-to-face, kailangan din fully vaccinated. Saka sasakit din.
A doctor in charge of vaccination in Quezon City says she hopes the Education Department will help encourage more students to get inoculated. While not mandatory, she says being vaccinated will help protect students, especially with COVID-19 cases on the rise again.
Pag nagkaroon po ng infection within the family, lahat damay eh. So dapat yung 5 to 11 is also protected.
Booster shots for adolescents in Quezon City will be given in malls beginning Thursday. Health officers are hoping this will encourage more parents and teenagers to get the additional dose. Caroline Bonkin, CNN Philippines.
The COVID-19 pandemic has forced another school to close its doors for good. Kalayaan College in Quezon City is shutting down after 22 years. It says the board of directors decided to end operations because of financial losses brought by declining student population and challenges caused by the pandemic. The decision will be final after it is ratified by a majority of stockholders. Kalayaan College was founded in year 2000 by professors at the University of the Philippines, led by former UP President Jose Abueva. It is a private, non-sectarian institution committed to delivering UP quality education. In other news, the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology admits drug pushers are finding more ways to smuggle illegal drugs into their facilities. Chrissy Di Matula reports this comes as authorities work to decongest jails.
Jail facilities in the country are still congested, but figures show an improvement compared to pre-pandemic times. In an interview with CNN Philippines on Tuesday, Bureau of Jail Management and Penology spokesperson Jail Superintendent Xavier Solda said, the country's jails still face a congestion rate of 397%. According to Solda, the country currently has 476 jail facilities, 336 of which are full. The BJMP admits there is still a long way to go before most jails become decongested. But it says things are a lot better now compared to the situation in 2017.
Kung titingnan natin yung datos natin sa nakalipas na 5 taon, halimbawa noong 2017, pumalo sa 612% ang nationwide congestion rate natin. At sa kasalukuyan ay 397% na lamang. Malaking factor dito yung mga bagong pasilidad na ginawa ng BJMP mula sa pondo na ibinigay from the national government.
Aside from building more jails, the BJMP is also trying to put a stop to another problem, the smuggling of illegal drugs into their facilities.
Sa nakalipas na 2 taon dahil nasa pandemya at wala ng face-to-face na visitation, pinapayagan natin ang mga paabot at doon tayo nakakakita, no? Iniipit sa tinapay, hinahalo sa cake, hinahalo sa ulam, no? At iba't ibang mga pamamaraan nakapagtuslit lamang ng illegal na droga sa mga facilities natin. Kaya yun talaga, no? Yung binabantayan ng BGMP.
In his first media briefing, Interior Secretary Benher Abalos said that in his first 100 days in office, he would conduct surprise visits in jails to ensure that they are free from illegal drugs. He said he would also require inmates and jail personnel to undergo drug tests. BJMP officials said they welcomed the plans of Abalos, saying that these would help them create better policies and guidelines. They would also need assistance from local government units on how to reintegrate inmates back to communities once they have served their sentence. In the meantime, the Philippine National Police said it will intensify intelligence monitoring and take necessary steps to prevent drug syndicates from reviving their illegal trade. Chrissy Di Matula, CNN Philippines.
Senator Mig Zubiri, who is poised to become Senate President, meets with several senators led by his colleague Cynthia Villar. These senators include her son, Mark Villar, presidential sister, Amy Marcos, Bato de la Rosa, Bongo, Francis Tolentino, and Robin Padilla. Zubiri says they discussed boosting economic recovery and the education sector. Villar earlier gave way to Zubiri in the Senate presidency race. Zubiri is Senate President pro tempore, serving as officer in charge of the chamber until the 19th Congress opens on July 25th. Zubiri has committed to form a supermajority in the Senate. Global headlines now. Major shootings unfolding, beginning with the United States, where police have arrested a person of interest in the U.S. state of Illinois. The suspect was identified as Robert Primo, who opened fire from a rooftop during a 4th of July parade on Monday. At least 6 people were killed and dozens critically injured in Highland Park. In Europe, a suspect has been remanded into a psychiatric facility after killing 3 people at a shopping mall in the Danish capital, Copenhagen, over the weekend. The 22-year-old Danish man charged with manslaughter will remain in the facility for 24 days. Police said the gunman was known to psychiatric professionals. Trending stories coming up. Is there hope for another collab between James Reid and a K-pop artist? Netizens seem to think so after the star was photographed with a GOT7 member. And this one's for NGenes, or fans of hit K-pop group ENHYPEN. Did I say that right? The comeback mini album Manifesto Day 1 is finally here. Details when we come back.
was always fair. I will always be impossible to beat. I will explore the comfort mode, 'cause I'm a boomerang, I'm a boomerang, I'm a boomerang, I'm a boomerang.
Tonight, we are celebrating all things gin. People are going back to bars after a long hiatus are in for an exciting and unique experience with the Gin Bar Crawl Challenge. Gin lovers are invited to try specially concocted signature drinks made with the Nebra San Miguel gin products at any of the 30 partner establishments nationwide. Davao, and here in Poblacion, Makati.
Actually, being a mixologist, we love playing around with different spirits. My favorite, personally, is gin because it's so versatile, it's cool, and it's also very clear.
GSM really got me. As in, solid lahat ng mixes nila.
Sobrang refreshing nito ngayon.
For a list of partner bars and restaurants for the Gin Crawl Challenge, just visit facebook.com/Barangay Ginebra.
We have the power to protect Mother Earth, keeping it cleaner and greener, to preserve our one and only home. Powering the good life. Meralco.
Welcome back. Sports news first. The Philippine football team is off to a great start in this year's AFF Women's Championship. The Filipinas scored a phenomenal upset against world number 12 Australia last night at the Rizal Memorial Stadium in Manila. Sabrina Bolton made the breakthrough goal for the team for the 1-0 victory. But in the next game, head coach Alan Stajic hopes to see more fans in the stands.
We've got 4 games left in the group and semis and finals to come, and if we make it that far, so this team really deserves a sellout. We need to do everything we can to pack this stadium out and give these players the love they deserve.
The Filipinas are playing against Singapore tomorrow at 7 p.m. Netizens are speculating another K-pop collaboration from James Reid soon, with recent social media posts showing the Pinoy singer with big names in the industry, James, and actress Liza Soberano, who is now under Reid's agency Careless Music, were spotted visiting Starship Entertainment. The Korean music label launched popular groups like IVE and Monster X. A friend also posted a photograph of Reid with Bam Bam of GOT7. Reid has worked with another member of the boy group before, releasing Hello with JB back in March. And taking over Twitter trends, a new record and music video from K-pop sensation ENHYPEN. The K-pop group dropped its 6-track mini-album Manifesto Day 1 yesterday. A music video for the lead single Future Perfect, Pass the Mic, was also released. Now it has over 5 million views on YouTube. Take a look. In January, ENHYPEN broke the Billboard record for most tracks to make it on its Hot Trending Songs chart, with 6 titles on the list. And that is it for now. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
Network, DXTV, Dipolo, Radio Ronda.
Senatorial candidate and labor lawyer Luke Espiritu goes viral after getting into a heated argument with two fellow contenders in a debate. At the SMNI senatorial debate Wednesday, Espiritu clashed with former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque and suspended lawyer Larry Gadon about martial law. That's after Espiritu said schools should teach children about the human rights violations under the late dictator, former President Ferdinand Marcos. Let's watch this.
I'll go by the
Bakit nyo naisisi kay Marcos yun?
It's my time.
We should not use this forum for a propaganda against the Marcoses.
Binuksan mo ang usapan, wag mo akong pagbawalan. I go by the record, Amnesty International, 3,257 ang pinatay nung panahon ni Marcos. 35,000 ang mga is my time, wag kang bastos.
Kung ano man ang nangyari sa nakaraan, inisa-isa ko po ang records. Wala pong kaso for human rights violation sa Amerika si Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Sa isa ko rin po ang mga kaso na decided po ng ating Philippine Supreme Court. Totoo po, co-administrators of Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos, wala pong kaso na siya mismo nagnakaw.
With all due respect to Attorney Harry Roque, I know your history. You were anti-Marcos before. You were for human rights before. Your life, you spent your life against the Marcoses, you work for human rights, and now that you were given a Senate SPAC under the party of Bongbong Marcos, now you cry hallelujah and praise Marcos.
There was nothing respectful with what you said against me. Ang katotohanan po ang pinag-uusapan, hindi po ang patay na Marcos, ang pinag-uusapan ang buhay na Marcos. Sa akin po, panagutin ang mga nagkasala, pero yung mga hindi po gumawa ng kahit anong kasalanan, wag po natin idamay sa sisi.
Espiritu is on the senatorial slate of Caliotti de Guzman and Walden Bello. We now go above and beyond the headlines with the man himself, ang sabi daw di bardagulan, senatorial candidate and labor lawyer Luke Espiritu. Attorney Luke, magandang hapon sa inyo.
Yes, magandang hapon.
I'm sorry, magandang gabi pala, sorry.
Yes, magandang gabi at sa inyo at saka sa mga viewers ninyo.
Okay, so bardagulan daw. You are our, in a very long time, our first studio guest, emphasis on studio, yes. Dahil na alert level 1, no? Pero, alam mo, chinek ko yung Twitter mo so kagabi daw, mga 2,000, no? Followers mo.
Ngayon, I'm not sure because the Twitter is handled by my team.
Okay.
But of course, in consultation with me.
Okay, FYI, 17,800. As of 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, I heard, yeah.
Pero ang kailangan mo, hindi Twitter followers, kundi boto. Tama?
Yes, we need votes and we need supporters and we need to create a movement against all of these lies that are going around.
A movement against all these lies. Okay, let's talk about last night's debate, no? So, meron kang sinabi after parang kulang pa ang bakbakan, gusto mong parang gigil na gigil ka, at sabi sana marami pang encuentro with sina attorneys Gadon and Roque.
Because we need to expose these people. They are peddling lies about this chapter in our nation's history, which is the darkest chapter. And you know, it is really difficult if our new generation of Filipinos are learning these lies and imbibing the values of the regime of Marcos. Kasi yung regime na yan na hindi rumerespeto sa human rights at gino-glorify ang authoritarian rule. And if we have that as values, kawawa naman ang ating lipunan.
You didn't mince any words last night, no? Like as we showed, wag kang bastos, and then you were telling Harry na, you're singing hallelujah to the Marcoses now. Ano to, Attorney Luke? Parang nothing to lose, just dish it all
out. It was not intended, although I think it's bound to happen. If you put the three of us in a room, it's bound to happen that we're going to argue. But it was never intended. I was triggered by the comment of Larry Gadon to a question about juvenile or children in conflict with the law. And he inserted a comment about priests teaching children about the evils of the Marcos regime. So it was a debate. And if it was a debate, you should be ready to refute that point.
To do a rebuttal.
And I was doing that when he interrupted me. Kung hindi niya ako in-interrupt, hindi naman ganun ka acrimonious ang exchange. But he did So I had to stand my ground. And then Harry Roque came to his defense, and I also have to answer Harry Roque. So that's what happened. If he did not insert that comment, I would just have answered the questions that were thrown to us by the panel.
Okay. Meron ka ring sinabi kagabi, no? Medyo nakaka-nervous kasi when someone, politiko, kandidato, or lawmaker, the minute you say, with all due respect, parang hindi totoo eh. Parang bardagulan na talaga.
That's what we do in court because for me, our training as lawyers, if we may argue and then heatedly, but then after that we call ourselves pañero, and that's actually how we address each other with all due respect. That's genuine because I'm not against you personally. That's our training as lawyers.
Yeah. But you are against what they say.
What they represent.
What they represent.
And we could have a heated argument, but later on, we could call ourselves pañero, no problem.
Okay. Let's talk very briefly about your background. So you went to, you're born in Bacolod, so you went to school, the first few years of grade school in Bacolod.
Yes.
And then, lumipat kayo dito na Manila, La Salle Grade School, Ateneo High School, Ateneo College, Ateneo
Law School.
Law School.
Yes.
No? And then, so, college 97, 2002.
Law school.
Law school.
Yes.
Okay. Talk to us about that first. And, because syempre people are wondering, parang you seem to have had a privileged upbringing. Those are the words that were used on social media. And it's not hindi naman siya, it's not criticism of you. It's an observation. Parang privileged upbringing, privileged background. And then you end up here as a labor lawyer. Tell us what happened.
Actually, my life is a contradiction. Okay, we were not wealthy. My father was also a lawyer, but he has to raise 7 children.
Wow.
He was
okay.
a lawyer.
7. You are number
children.
what?
I'm the youngest.
Okay.
And hindi naman kami ganun kayaman. Professional lang ang tatay ko. At ang mga kaibigan ko ay simula pa nung bata ako ay yung mga kapitbahay namin sa kanto. And tapos naging religious pa ako, naging katikista. Therefore, talagang ang nakakasalamuha ko talaga ay yung mga nasa underprivileged ng ating lipunan. And you talk to anyone who knows me, hindi ako privileged. At talagang masang-masa ang aking lifestyle.
Oo.
In fact, matatawa sila pag sinabi niyong privileged ako. Doon lang ako nag-Amerikana sa SMNA.
Ganon. Okay.
Yes, but if you really knew me and saw me on the street, talagang masa, napagkakamalan nga ako Kahit lawyer na, napagkakamalan tayong marami na, taxi driver, taga-ayos ng aircon. No one will say na elite ako. And that contradiction is what really contributed to what I'm doing right now. Because although my father is a lawyer, then that also qualifies us as middle class. Therefore, I could afford, or my father could afford to send me to Ateneo. Pero yung kultura ko naman masa, manggagawa naman, ang nakakasalamuha ko masa at manggagawa. Therefore, fusing the two, then my intellectual development will only lead me towards the workers.
So when you were in school, for example, Ateneo College, I went to Ateneo also, so you would hang out where? And then with who? What were your school orgs?
My friends were scholars in the Ateneo.
Okay.
Because the Ateneo, even from sa high school until college, maraming scholars yan Yun ang mga kaibigan ko. Yung mga binigyan ng free tuition sa Ateneo, and they were deserving students from the public schools. So you would see kung ano yung aking kultura. Kultura ko talaga, masa. And then, in the Ateneo, wala namang aktivismo at the time. But I was born in the Marcos era. So I was politicized at the time. My father was involved in a case, extrajudicial killing in Kabangkalan, Mayor Pablo Sola. That was a case
What do you mean involved in a case?
He prosecuted the landlord who was accused of killing the tenant farmers in Kabangkalan. And as growing up, those are the things that you see, you hear, and the priests in Bacolod were all activist priests. So I was pretty much politicized even when I was young. Pero walang aktivismo nung college ako until kasi bumagsak yung Soviet Union at the time. It was a time na medyo humihina ang aktivismo sa mga schools. So until law school yan. And then the Gloria Arroyo became president, and I could not accept that. And then that was the time I was reaching out to different groups until I was so-called discovered by sanlakas.
Discovered.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But you could have, like, as a lawyer, you could have gone corporate. You were with, what is it, IBM?
Chavez Miranda Asiocho.
Okay.
Asiocho, the law firm founded by the former Solicitor General Frank Chavez.
Okay.
Yes. I joined them in 2004 until 2008, and the reason why I left was because I told, as I told Frank Chavez when I was alive, I'm going to join the revolution. Yes, and
which revolution? Which one?
2008. Well, that was just a matter of speaking, but I'm going to join the mass movement, which will be.
So,
fighting.
kumbaga dun talaga yung puso mo na you wanted to be on the labor front lines and picket lines, ganun.
Yes, at heart, I'm an activist.
Okay. What is it? We're going to have to take a quick break. Do we need to take a break right now? Yeah. Okay, wala na tayong break. Dire-diretso na tayo. Sige. Okay, I also brought up yung Ateneo background mo kasi nag-com arts ka, no? Communication arts. And earlier, before the show, I was asking you, com arts? Why would you take com arts? And then biglang nag-abogado. And you said it was just a pre-law course.
Yeah, it was pre-law. I was not really into it. So I just, my aim is really to become a lawyer. It was a random choice in the Ateneo. I just wanted to breeze through college so that I will have a pre-law degree. And then I'll proceed to law school.
Okay. Well, I was wondering also communications, which could mean that, alam mo yung value of communicating and therefore, value of communicating in a clear and concise manner, the way you did. No,
I learned that not from school. I learned that from Ninoy Aquino and from the great orators like Malcolm X. I study them. I study their style because honestly, I think that it's part of convincing our kababayans.
Okay. Let's talk about the legislation. The kind of legislation you would like to do if you are elected. Although, if you look at the surveys, parang medyo nandun ka sa
I'm at the bottom.
Yeah,
yes.
Okay. But, kapag nakita mo yung listahan na yon, syempre isipin ng tayo, kaya pala ninenervous yung mga negosyante at mga negosyo sa kanya, kung quote-unquote, kung ano-anong naisip niya, no? The question here is, what's good for business and businessmen doon sa mga gusto mo mangyari, di ba? Like, you don't want any more, yung mga
manpower agencies.
Manpower agencies.
Yes. It's not bad for them. It's not bad for them because the manpower agencies are useless. They are parasites. They don't have any purpose or importance in doing business. They are just another layer created in order for our companies and establishments to deny employer and employee relationships. We will do away with the manpower agencies, business will go on. And imagine in utopia, okay? You hire a worker and then you give 10% on top of their salary to the manpower agency. You actually spend more for each worker. So for every worker you hire and pay 537 pesos, that's at least based on the Dole regulations, based on Department Order 174. The manpower agency will get 10% equivalent of 537. That's 53.7 more that you pay for every worker because you have to pay the manpower agency. And I'm talking about the minimum. Others charge 12%. So why do they do that? Why would they spend more? But when the worker, organizes a union and proposes CBA, hindi nga nila nakukuha yung 53.7 pesos increase a day. Ang mga binibigay lang ng mga establishments natin ay minsan piso, 2 piso, 10 piso, malaki na. But they're willing to spend 53.7.
Yeah. Calyodi brought it up also during the debate, 750 pesos minimum wage. Do you think that's even possible? Is that something that businessmen, big business will want to do?
Yes, because the salaries are really below, way below cost of living. And ideally, you pay your worker the cost of living. That's how the system works. You pay your workers anything that is necessary for the worker to be able to work the next day, meaning to say everything, food and electricity, anything that is necessary for that, that's what you pay the worker. And the excess of that is your profit. So, if you pay the worker his cost of living, meaning to say your profit is still secured. But the problem is, we pay the workers here in our country below his cost of living. Secretary Pernia already said that for a worker to be able to survive, he has to earn 42,000 pesos a month. That's 1,615 a day. And if you give 537, that's only, what, one-third or less than one-third of his cost of living. 750 is not even equivalent to the cost of living. Medyo kung pa nga discount pa nga Because our formulation is give the workers 750, then we will have to look for policies to reduce the cost of living. Meaning to say, para hindi na gumastos yung mga negosyante, ito pababain natin yung kuryente, pababain natin yung tubig.
Naku, ang daming aaray dyan.
Actually, matutuwang negosyante dapat dyan. Kasi part ng cost of production niya, kuryente. Di ba? Ang taas-taas ng cost of production niya, dahil ang taas-taas ng kuryente, number 1 tayo sa pinakamahal na kuryente sa Pilipinas. Dapat, pagka yan ang programa natin, pababain natin ang kuryente, para ang mga manggagawa naman natin ay mabuhay at mabumaba ang kanilang cost of living. Equivalent rin yun sa pagbaba ng cost of production ng mga
negosyante. Baka ang umaray naman doon, yung kumpanya ng kuryente, yung...
ay, dapat lang, alam mo yun, sobra-sobra tubong lugaw yung kita nila. I also represented, the watchdog Freedom from Debt Coalition in the ERC. Ang laki-laki ng kinikita nila, guaranteed na return on rate base. Hindi sila aray dapat doon. Like for example, kumikita ka halimbawa ng 10 million sa negosyo mo, babawasan mo yung 10 million ng 2 million, mayroon ka pa rin 8 million, binawasan mo ng 2 million, hindi ka na ba magninegosyo nun? May 8 million ka pa nga Konting bawas lang para naman medyo makatarungan naman ang ating sistema dito.
Do you really think you can win? Or is this like parang the impossible dream, Don Quixote, going up against the windmills?
There are two aspects to the way I see it.
By the way, you have 18,300 followers now. I just checked on Twitter.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. Going back to that question,
yes, the question.
There are two ways I look at it. I would like to adopt yung sinabi ni na Italian socialist Gramsci. Sabi niya, pessimism of the intellect, optimism of the will. Meaning to say, when you look at things and evaluate things, you must, have the pessimism of the intellect. You accept what are your weaknesses and try to assess. But then optimism of the will, meaning to say, you have to move forward and fight for victory. And that's what we do. I see the surveys, mababa ako. Pero that does not stop us from campaigning for victory. Now, whatever is the result, and then it will just be a step for us for further victory. We will never stop until we win.
Attorney Luke Espiritu, who took the internet by storm since last night, and now 18,300 ba? 18,300 followers on Twitter. Thank you so much for being with us. Maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat.
This Sunday, yet no other candidate seeking a Senate seat. 3 former officials of the Duterte administration will take part in our 7th CNN Philippines Senatorial Forum. Former Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission Chairman Greco Bellica, former Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Salvador Panelo, and former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque will answer issues facing the nation. Watch them side by side as they bear their platforms and stances on various matters. That's happening